Hey bass fishing fans, I'm Texas Bass Guide Stephen Fatherree, and in this short fishing tips video, I want to tell you about some of the baits that I like to use to search for bass in clear water lakes during the springtime. The first bait that I like to use is obviously a jerkbait. A jerkbait is a killer lure anytime you have clear water situation, especially in the springtime, and I'll use either a 106X or a 106DD jerkbait. These are both great lures. One of them has a shorter bill, the other has a little bit longer bill. Now I like to use the shorter bill jerkbait whenever I have 2 to 4 foot of visibility. I like to focus on more shallow water targets, whereas I'll use the 106DD whenever I have 6 foot visibility or plus. Whenever I have really gin clear water, I want that bait to get down just a little bit deeper, and then that's when I'm going to use that jerkbait. Now it's important you match that with the right gear. I like to use 10 to 12 pound fluorocarbon line. I like to use a 6 foot 8-inch medium power St. Croix rod with an extra fast tip. That's going to allow you to throw these lightweight jerkbaits a long distance, which is very important. I'm going to make a long cast with this bait, reel down 4 or 5 times to get it down to its running depth, and then twitch this bait with downward twitches of the rod back to the boat. You want to let the fish tell you how long of a pause they want. Some days the fish prefer a very long pause, especially early in the season or in cold water. They like that bait to pause a little bit longer, whereas later in the spawn and when the water is warmer, I'm going to use a little bit faster retrieve with less pauses. Now the second bait that I like to throw is one that I'll use whenever I am fishing in clear water and grass. Whenever I don't want the jerkbait to hang up in that grass, and I'm looking for something that's going to provoke even more of a reaction strike, and that is a Snatch 70X or Snatch FRS Lipless Crankbait. A lipless crankbait is great because it's going to allow you to rip that bait out of that grass, trigger a reaction strike, and catch those fish that jerkbait may not be able to get to. I like to throw my lipless crankbaits on a 7 foot medium power St. Croix Avid Series rod with 15 to 17 pound fluorocarbon line and a fast gear ratio reel. I'll make a long cast and try to just barely tick the top edges of that grass with this bait. Whenever I feel the bait hang up in the grass, I'll give it a sharp jerk of the rod and rip that bait out of the grass. A lot of times that's where you're going to trigger your largemouth to bite the bait. Another alternative for fishing clear water grass in the spring is throwing a Corex hollow-bellied swim bait. You can either throw a 4-inch or a 5-inch hollow-bellied swim bait. This is one of my favorite techniques, especially for larger fish, and it comes through the grass so much easier than either of the previous 2 baits I've mentioned. Now with the Corex, I fish it on a little bit heavier gear. I'm going to have a 7 foot medium heavy power fast action Avid Series rod, and I'm going to use 15 to 17 pound fluorocarbon line, sometimes 20 pound fluorocarbon, but generally in the clear water I want to stay with smaller diameter line sizes. With the Corex, I'll use a very slow retrieve, trying to keep that bait right above or right inside of the top of the grass, every once in a while kind of twitching that reel handle. Now on extremely windy springtime days in clear water, I like to throw an umbrella rig. An umbrella rig is great on these windy days. It's a lot heavier, you can throw it much further, and I feel that it's going to attract a lot more bites than the other baits that I've mentioned. Now with the umbrella rig, it's important that you use both a heavier rod and heavier line. I like to use 20 to 25 pound fluorocarbon line, and I'll match this with a St. Croix 7 foot 10-inch heavy power fast action Legend tournament rod. This rod was specifically designed to throw swim baits. It's got a nice long handle to give you good leverage. Make sure you get a nice long cast, and then I will reel this bait back to the boat slow and steady. If I feel it bump anything, whether it be grass or the bottom, I'll speed the retrieve up just a bit. Whether I'm throwing the Corex hollow bellies solo or whether I'm throwing them on the umbrella rig, I like to use a TK 170. This is a Trocar swim bait hook. I'll use a 3/0 with a 4-inch swim bait, and I like to use the 5/0 size whenever I'm throwing a 5-inch swim bait. So in this video, you just learned some of my favorite baits for fishing clear water lakes during the springtime. For more fishing tip videos like this, click the link in the description below. Good luck fishing.